Hi guys and welcome. You're joining me today to see how I remake a vest style top. Now I just took this pattern, which I made this one this morning, off a vest top that I've already got, but the colour's looking a bit tired, so I thought I'm going to make myself some new ones up for the holiday. Now the bias binding that I've got around here is some fabric that was cut off a maxi dress that I shortened. And there's so many pretty prints out there, isn't there, that it was only a couple of inches, but if it's a wide dress. Now the bust area is double lined, so there's two layers of fabric just in that bust area. Now the new top that I'm going to be making, this is new, but the next one that I'm going to be making is a pretty bright pink and blue bias binding. So I'm going to do the stitching in fuchsia pink, and when I do the double stitching on the bottom, I'm going to do that in fuchsia pink because it'll just pick up and pop with the top. And then just down the sides and under that bust area there, I'm going to be stitching them obviously in white on the overlocker. So if you'd like to see how I remake a vest top, keep watching. So this is the top that I took the pattern off, and I've got it folded in half, and I'm going to cut it on the fold. So the fabric is folded in half so that when I cut one half out and open it up, I've got the full template to the top. So you can see there how much turn up there's on the hem. So I'm going to allow seam allowance on the bottom. Just going to get that strap tucked in. Now I'm not leaving any seam allowance on this area around the arms and the neck because that is where the bias binding is going to be. So it doesn't need any seam allowance leaving. And then on the sides, because I'm going to be overlocking it, I'm not going to need any seam allowance there either. So I'm just going to pull it as far as it needs to go and then follow that true to it. So that is the front piece of the top. I'm going to do the same with the back. To get the back, I just need to turn that the other way. And again, I don't need to leave any seam allowance around the neck or the arm. And then that's the back piece. Now what I need to do now is that bust, the double lining for the bust. So let me just get that. So the front piece, that's the wrong side, so I'm going to put the wrong side together on that. So this is just mirroring the top. Right, I'm just going to get the top that I made and I'm going to measure how deep I did that. I'm going to do it 1.5 inches shorter this end because it's just a little bit too long. So I'm going to measure that too. So let's go from the centre here. 1.5 inches up is there. So I'm going to cut that to 7 inch. Cut round the top. Right, so what I've got here then, I've got wrong side to wrong side. So this is the bust line. I'm going to clip just around all these edges on the top. Right, so I'm now going to go to the overlocker and get everything that needs overlocking overlocked. Let me get the right side of this, so this is the right side facing up, and then I'm going to get the side of this and place it on the side here, and then I'm just going to start overlocking down the side. Actually, you know what I forgot? I've got to run down the bottom of this first. Just need to overlock across the bottom of that first. Okay, and then I'll carry on going down this side. Let's make sure that they're all lined up and that nothing's in the way underneath. Alright, and then I'm going to overlock across the bottom at this point. Right, I'm going to go to the opposite side. Lining these edges up. Right, so that is both sides overlocked, the bottom of the bust and the hem. Right, now I'm just going to overlock all around the top of the double layered fabric. And this is just to keep both the pieces together, so that when I'm putting the bias binding on, there's not going to be an issue. So time to get the bias binding clipped on and the hem turned up. Right, so I'm going to start first of all by just clipping the hem up. Now I'm pretty good with my measurements, so if you're not like me, then you can always, you know, grab for your sewing gauge, measure it as you go along and then clip it, but I've got a rough idea at measurements as I'm going round and keeping it all even. Right, so I need to get to the top now, and the bias binding that I'm using is this. It's the beautiful, beautiful pink and blue that I made again from some offcuts. I'm going to start off by doing the front neckline, and I'm going to put that in the centre of the bias binding there, and then I'm going to clip that in place all the way across. I'm going to cut that on the edge so it's coming up level. I'm going to get the back, and with this I'm just slightly going to stretch this back piece out. Right, and I've got a join there, so I'm going to cut that join off because I don't want it, you know, halfway across my back. Let me have a look, is it enough? Oh, actually, yeah, it'll just be enough to do that. I'm actually stretching this out a little bit, am I? Not a lot, just a tiny bit. I'm just going to cut that level there. Right, so I'm going to go and stitch these down first of all, and the hems. We'll start with a back tack, and I'm aiming to stitch in the centre of the overlocking. And as always, whenever I get any overlocking, that's going to be tucked inside the hem. And I'm going to do the twin needling, so I'm going to do another row of stitching at the side of it. Just look how pretty that is, the pink against the white. And I'm going to run this stitching where that foot is there, the centre of this first prong. That's going to run down the centre, and that's going to keep me stitching all, you know, the same width going around it. So that's the hem all stitched down. So now I'm going to start stitching the bias binding in place, and I'm going to stitch with the right side of the fabric facing up. I'm not going to be stitching close to the end, I'm coming a bit further in so that I'm guaranteeing that I'm stitching the back down as well. Just the back tack there. Oh, it's not caught it in at end there, look, it's just come out. Right, so let me just get that unpeaked. Right, so I'm just going to go a bit further back and keep reinforcing that as I'm coming down this end bit. Get that in, right up into that inner corner. Stitch that. Right, so that's all now caught in on the back, and that's the front. Right, so let's get the front done. So that's the front done. That piece of black cotton out there. Time to clip the strapping on now then. So I'm going under the arms and creating the straps. So there's a join there, so I'm just going to cut that off. And then I'm going to start, let's have a look where I'm going to start. Start under this arm. Right, so I'm going to again make sure that that goes right into the centre where the crease is there on the bias binding. And I'm going to work my way around. I'm not stretching the fabric at all at this point. It was only on the back because it needs to stretch across my back a bit. I know the front's fine. And then when I come to this bit here, so I'm just going to get the bias binding and just go right over the top of that. So I'm going to just clip that in place there where it meets that bit. Now from this bit to where I come to the other, it needs to be the strap on this top is 12.5 inch. So I'm going to measure 12.5 inch from there. And then I'm just going to put a clip there. So that is my strap. Right, and then I'm going to fetch it round to this side and then start clipping. I'll just make sure that that is like so, coming round, and then where that clip is, that is where it needs to come down here. Right, so let me just take that off, put that right in there, clip that in position, and then bringing this round. Now when I come to this bit here, where it's joining the start of it, I'm going to just cut that about 1 centimetre past, because I'm going to join those two together. From here I need to measure the 12.5 inch. There. Right, I'll get to the other side. And again I'm going to cut that centimetre past, like so. Right, and then I've got both the strappings there. Have a look, that's okay, isn't it? Just making sure that the strapping's not twisted. Right, back to the Duke. Right, so first of all what I need to do here then is get these stitched together. So I'm just going to open them up. Stitch them together. Try and make sure that they're matching up at the edges. Yeah, sliding. Slippity, 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 smooth. Right, let me try that. Right, just need to make sure that that's going to fit, and it is. So now I'm just going to cut the excess off, so I've not got a lot of fabric in there. And then again I'm going to stitch with the right side facing up. I'm just going to start where that seam is there. And making sure that that is really in there. Get the opposite side done. That's not quite caught in there. If you can see there, it's just not quite caught in, so I'm going to come back under to that point and just pull that down. I'm going to go over the same stitching line at the front there, get that down. And that's caught it this time. Just cutting the excess threads off. So I've just tried the top on, guys, as you can see, and the front bit is just gaping. It fits great on across the back. But what I'm going to do to rectify this is I'm going to get under the armpits and just pull that in and make it a little bit tighter on each side to make that fit how it should fit. Right, so I've got, this is the bit which is under the armpit. I'm going to just put them so they're even. Just work that gradually down into the seam. The same on the other side. Right, I'm going to try that on again at this point, and if that's tight enough, I'm going to cut the excess off there, overlock it, and then just back tack the overlocking down in place. But I'm going to try it on first to make sure it's a good fit. Right, so you can see there I've just overlocked that bit that I've cut off. I'm going to tilt the overlocking down and then just top stitch that in place. I'm going to come down where the overlocking ends and tack that in place. I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. This was gaping, and that's why I took a little bit extra under the arms to pull that further across for me. Now, the pattern, the top that I took the pattern off is an old top. This is new fabric, so there possibly is difference in stretch. And sometimes when you are taking a pattern off something that you wear and love, the chances are you are going to have to tweak it to get it to fit you perfect. Now, I love this bias binding, and I think it just brings a bit of pizzazz to the plain white. Now, I've made this for my holiday, so it's all ready for me to wear. So I'm not going to ag it on, I'm going to take it off, but I am going to put the blouse on that I've been wearing because I've got a little bit of a tail behind that. So let me get it changed. How cute is this little blouse, guys? It's adorable, isn't it? Now let me tell you a bit of a tail behind it. Right, so the tail behind this, guys, is I bought this shirt for my husband. And it was only, I think it was 2 weeks ago. Most of the times when I buy him shirts, they either want downsizing or shortening. Now, I think I'd downsized it for him. I don't think this one needed downsizing, but he wanted it shorter. So I says, right, come on, try it on. And I pinned it where it wanted shortening to. But what I didn't do, when I come to cutting it, I didn't take into account for the hem allowance. So when I stitched it up and then I was ironing it after, I looked at it and I thought, why is it so short? Anyway, I says to him, try this shirt on, Kev. He went, I went, why is it so short? Anyway, I worked it out. It weren't too difficult to work out what I'd done wrong. I just hadn't allowed seam allowance. And I says to him, it looks ridiculous on you because it was that short. But I just said, I'll have to have it now. So basically what I did was just cut the neckline off, put the elastic in. So obviously it's overlocked, but I just think it looks so cute. I think it looks far better on me than what it would have done on him. So a mistake that ended up in my favour. So, ladies, if you guys have got some really nice shirts that you really love, ask him if he wants it shortening, but just forget to put the seam allowance on. You might end up with a lovely blouse. Right, I'm going to show you the shorts now that I made for my daughters. Now this fabric is absolutely beautiful, isn't it? It's absolute. It's a 3D fabric. I've had this fabric for over a year because I didn't really know what to make with it. But I have got about 3 meters left for myself, and I can't decide whether to do a maxi skirt, which is like you know, like a gypsy tiered one, or whether to do some wide leg trousers. I can't decide. But on the edge, you can see there, the edge that's on, it was just a scalloped edge, so I've left that as the hem. And guys, the trousers that I made from the dress with the handkerchief hem, that tiny elastic, it could be the future because they are so comfortable on the hip. And these I've done with the same. I've put a thin elastic in there and I've lined them because this fabric is pretty see-through. You can see there without the lining. But once you've got the lining in, it's great. So I've done the fully lined. Now, if you're wanting to make some shorts for yourself, this pattern, my last short video, which was how to remake my daughter's shorts, this is the pattern that I used to make these, and the only difference is I didn't put the waistband on. I've literally just put this small elastic on, so hopefully they can wear these on the hips. Now the differences with the lining is cut it to the same spec as the outer garment, but you're going to do the leg shorter. Now I cut the leg about 1.5 inches shorter than the bottom of that, and then I actually had a turn up to do on it, so they ended up being, the line is about 3 inches shorter than the outer leg. But these are so easy to do, and when you can get a cute fabric like that, because I got the fabric for £5 a metre, and like I said, there were 4 meters left on road, so I just said I'll take it all, but I just didn't know what to make with it. But now we're going on holiday soon, so I am going to be making something for myself with what's left with the fabric. And this has got a pin in because these are Katie's and they're Paige's, because they're just slightly different in the waist. But I just thought I had to share these with you because they're so cute looking, aren't they? So getting back to the top, guys, top what I've done, it's an easy remake because you've got 1, 2, 3 pieces. You could literally do 2 pieces. You don't have to put that bust lining in because that red top hasn't got it in. But because the white, there's a bit of see-through there, I wanted to line the bust area. And I said, when this bias binding, and you can get some cute prints to make your own bias binding, especially when it's an off-cut and it's free to you. That blue, the blue fabric was my middle sister Jane's dress I shortened, and the pink and blue was from our Claire's dress, which is my youngest sister, and that was a 2-inch offcut. And I unpicked the M and managed to cut it in 2, and I did get 4 meters of fabric from the offcut. And it's pretty pricey now to buy into cotton bias binding, so if you can make your own and it's easy enough to make. I hope you've enjoyed this, mate, guys. Thanks for joining me. Take care for now, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.